Good morning and congratulations to the class of 2020. Every year I try to pick a quote that I speak about at graduation that I think exemplifies the class, and I actually had a hard time doing that this year. And it wasn't you, it was me. You guys gave me plenty of material. For example, when a couple of eighth graders came to my office and said, Mr. Minkus, do you support aliens' rights? And I thought they were talking about illegal immigrants, but they were talking about aliens at Area 51. And then they put a sign on my door. So that's one example of what I'm talking about. Or when the girls basketball team said, Mr. Minkus, take our picture. We're stretching. I don't think they were stretching. And then I'm at the middle school winter dance, and the boys are out in the hall, and I wanted to take their picture, and I said, act normal. And so they did, and I took their picture. Another example of more material that you guys have given me this year is I go to Spanish class, and I get invited to the front of the class to speak, to introduce myself in Spanish, and then I get laughed at because I don't know how to speak in Spanish. We have signs in the hallway to keep people safe, and we put them up. So, and this is what we get from people. So I also have students who just walk into my office and plop down and say, I have a complaint, or I'm hungry. And I don't think that's going to work so great next year with your principal, but it's a thing that happens at CDS. We have mindfulness on the mats with Mrs. Goldblum. That's a thing that we do. And then one of my favorites is I can lift the Torah all by myself. And so you guys have given me plenty of material. That's not the issue. The issue is this stupid virus. And we have new vocabulary that we use a lot, like social distancing and personal protective equipment and different things, cover your cough. These are all things that now are part of our everyday language. And when I was thinking about that, I thought about, well, what about this word contagious that we hear all the time? And contagious, of course, is a terrible thing with this virus, but it can also be something neutral, or it could be something really positive. So neutral would be a yawn. You yawn and it's other people yawn and it's kind of contagious. Or the positive could be a smile or laughing, or it could be that you have a positive attitude on your team or in your class, and then that becomes contagious. So that got me thinking about this quote from Nelson Mandela, and this is the one that I've picked for the class of 2020. And it says, as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And I really believe that this class, you have a lot of light, a lot of smiles, a lot of laughter, a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy. And I think that that changes situations. And when you do that, you unconsciously give people permission to do the same thing. And so what's an example of that? Well, I think that for you guys, it probably started back in kindergarten, maybe in first grade, singing your hearts out at your Siddur ceremony. And I didn't really know you then, but then it continued. And then when you were in fourth grade and helping out with Sukkot, and especially when I got to spend time with you on the Gettysburg trip, that's when I started to really see that light and that laughter and those smiles. And some examples of that might be helping kindergarten kids make blankets on MLK Day, and especially with full school Kabbalat Shabbat. So I asked the students if they would lead, and it was voluntary, and they all led. Every one of them got up there and they led, and they smiled. They played the drums, they sang, they danced. And what they did, just like the quote from Nelson Mandela, they gave other people permission to do the same. And so thank you for sharing that light and for encouraging other people that it's okay to do that stuff. Another thing that I was thinking about that's an example of that light would be when someone drops what they're doing and there's a family from another state and they offer to give a tour, a docent tour of the sculpture. Or whenever I've asked to take a photo, you guys, of course everyone wants to be in a photo, but the energy and the smiles and the laughter is something I'll always remember about this class. Mr. Minkus, can we take a selfie? Of course we're going to take a selfie. And this is one of my favorite pictures of the year, is that the day before, the 7th graders were out there, and then I tell the 8th graders, hey, yesterday there were 11 7th graders that fit on this swing, and they said, hold on a second, and then this is what we got. So they did it, but you can see the joy and you can see all the smiles. One of the best stories from the year, though, is that exemplifies this, is that back in 5th grade, we were teaching you guys about growth mindset. And it was February of 2017, and the faculty basketball game was coming up, and Miss R was saying, oh, I probably won't even score even a single basket. Well, the kids called her on that and said, that is not a growth mindset. And one of the 8th graders, at the time, 5th grader, made a sign and said, Miss R, all you need is one basket, just one basket. And so Miss R didn't make a basket that year, or the next year in 6th grade, but each year that student would go to Miss R's room the morning of the basketball game, get that sign, and then hold it in the stands, just one basket. And in 8th grade this year, when those students were playing in that game, that student got the sign and gave it to someone else to hold during the game. And then in the 3rd quarter, Miss R made that basket. And you can tell by the joy on her face and the looks on the faces of her opponents, the 8th grade girls, that everyone was so happy about this, that in the end, what we had to do was, of course, tear that sign in half, and with some big smiles and some joy, show that that growth mindset moment and that lesson had been learned. And so when I think about this class, I think about the quote from Nelson Mandela about letting your light shine gives permission unconsciously for other people to do the same. And so as you look at how this school year has ended, not the way that you wanted it to, not the way any of us wanted it to, but it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to continue what you've done with this joy and with this energy and enthusiasm, and to continue to do that in your life so that you give people permission to do the same thing. So I want to say thank you to the class of 2020. Thank you for making me smile when I was sad, and for leading us in ways that showed that it was okay for us to be enthusiastic and to have a lot of energy. So I just want to say thank you and congratulations and good luck to the class of 2020.